Hello, I'm Dr. Hamilton Stubbs, a double board certified sleep specialist and a certified nutrition specialist. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I like to talk about sleep and nutrition. So if that interests you, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit notifications so you'll know when I upload a video. Today I'm going to talk about snoring and how that could be related to nutritional status. So, how prevalent is it? According to the National Sleep Foundation, snoring affects 37 million Americans and probably even more because there's always a lag between when things are published and what's happening today. And we know that weight gain is increasing in the United States. Snoring is a condition that is related to weight gain because when we gain weight, it's not only the weight that you see, those hips that you don't really want, or your thighs, your waistline. It also happens on the inside of your body, like your tongue gets a little bigger, the uvula that hangs down in the back of the throat, that little piece of tissue gets a little bigger, and there's a little pad of tissue behind the tongue on that posterior wall that accumulates fat. So these are all things that could narrow the airway and cause snoring. So who's likely to snore? We talked about one person. That's the person who's overweight. And this is why, because of the accumulation of the extra tissue along the upper airway. But it can also affect how the diaphragm sits. If you have a big gut, the diaphragm may not be able to drop low and fill the lungs well, so you get a change in the airflow going from the nostrils to the lungs, from the lungs back to the nostrils. And snoring is the vibration of the tissue along the upper airway. Upper airway is anywhere from the nostrils to the top of the trachea, which you can feel if you just take your finger and run along that bone. Your neck, you'll feel the bones. That part is the trachea. That is not going to collapse and contribute to the snoring. But everything above that is subject to be a part of the problem with snoring. So the other people who are likely to snore are people with allergies because allergies cause inflammation of the upper airway, especially along the nasal passages, and that can make you congested and the airway small. If you're a person with seasonal allergies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you go to bed at night, if you haven't done anything to alleviate the congestion, it's difficult to breathe because the airway is closed. Other thing is crowded teeth. Now, if you have a short jaw, your teeth may not be aligned correctly, and the tongue won't sit in the base of the jaw evenly and stay snug when you fall asleep. It'll tend to fall backwards if you're on your back. The other thing is people who have had dental braces and needed to have teeth pulled or extracted, that's an indication that the jaw is small and that the tongue may not be fitting into the jaw snugly and correctly. So the way you can tell if your jaw is small and your tongue is too large for your jaw is just stick your tongue out and look on the sides of your tongue for the indentations of your teeth. Those little ridges indicate that your tongue is being pushed snugly up against the teeth, or I'll say tightly, up against your teeth, and it's causing an impression of the teeth on your tongue. And if you have problems with polyps, nasal polyps, they will block your airway as well. So when you are having a problem with snoring, it becomes something where your healthcare provider may not think of it as serious of a problem as you do, but you think it's a problem if it's disturbing your sleep or your bed partner's sleep, or if your bed partner's decided to move out of the bedroom because they can't sleep because of your snoring. It's always good to go and have a checkup to make sure that your snoring is not a sign of or a symptom of obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. Obstructive sleep apnea syndrome is due to the complete or partial closure of the upper airway during sleep, and it gives you symptoms that can be divided into nighttime symptoms and daytime symptoms. So the nighttime symptoms are snoring, waking up more than once or twice during the night to go to the bathroom, a restless sleep, and periods where you cut off your breathing or you have very shallow breathing during the night. When you wake up in the morning, you may wake up with a headache. Sometimes you don't feel like you had a good rest and you feel like you just need to keep on sleeping. Daytime symptoms include irritable behavior, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and people who have obstructive sleep apnea syndrome tend to be a little moody. And the problem is the person doesn't realize that they're moody. It comes on you kind of gradually. So the personality change would be gradual too. But the people around you notice that you are pretty easily upset. The other thing is, in the afternoons, you may find it very difficult to stay awake. Now, it's normal to have a dip in your energy level somewhere around noon to 3 p.m., but when you have a sleep disorder, it becomes even more difficult to fight off that fatigue and stay awake if you need to, like if you have your job and you can't take a break or you're in a meeting. So people with obstructive sleep apnea syndrome sometimes do things like drink a lot of caffeine beverages, and that could be coffee or a soda. And some people are having it with other things like candy, and the candy and the soda and the pastries all give you this temporary boost in your energy that could drop, and then you have a problem with fatigue. So the other thing that you want to do is just go talk with your healthcare provider and find out if there's something that can be done to help you with your snoring. And you have to realize that your insurance may not cover just simple snoring. So the health provider may be able to get you evaluated and have your insurance company help or cover the costs if there are other symptoms or conditions that are going along with the snoring that warrant additional treatment. One of the things I want to tell you about is vitamin D. Now, we know that vitamin D can do a lot of things. It's very beneficial to us, but it can help your bones, helps your immune system. But I didn't realize until I started doing this research that vitamin D is associated with obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. People with obstructive sleep apnea syndrome tend to have low vitamin D levels. And if you have obstructive sleep apnea syndrome, there's a good chance that you snore. Now, that doesn't mean that all snorers have obstructive sleep apnea syndrome, but almost everybody with obstructive sleep apnea syndrome snores. So, what's the link? Vitamin D has receptors in the skeletal muscle, and the skeletal muscle includes the muscle in the upper airway. When those receptors are stimulated, it creates muscle tone to help keep the airway open. If you don't have enough vitamin D, then your receptors won't be stimulated, you won't have enough muscle tone, the airway will be more floppy, and it will vibrate. And that's what snoring is, the vibration. The other thing about vitamin D is it is associated with our immune system, and it has a very important role in the immune system. When we have low vitamin D levels, we're at risk for more infections and allergic rhinitis, and it can just compromise our ability to fight off infection. So when that happens, you can get allergic rhinitis and upper respiratory infections, and this will cause nasal congestion, and the congestion will make the airway narrow. When the airway is narrow, it changes the dynamics of the air flowing from the nostrils to the lung. When you have to breathe in extra hard, then you could have more tissue vibrating. So how are we going to treat this? We're going to talk with your healthcare provider because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, and that means it's stored in the body. You get too much of it, it can be toxic. It's very helpful with strong bones and the immune system, but too much is not good for us. So you want to make sure that you're working with your healthcare provider who can give you some personalized healthcare. But it should be supplemented if it's very low, and you can get some vitamin D from the sun. There's two types of vitamin D. There's vitamin D2, which is going to come from plants, and then there's vitamin D3, which is made in the skin. How long you need to stay out there depends on your amount of skin exposed and also how much melanin is in your skin. So some people have to stay 20 minutes, some people need to stay a little bit longer. If you choose to expose yourself to the sun, I always recommend you use sunblock on your face and neck if you want to prevent some of the aging skin damage due to the sun, and always wear something to protect your eyes because the sun can damage the corneas as well as damage the back of the eye, and this could lead to vision loss. And after you have done your protection, you want to make sure that you are sunbathing at a time when the UV rays are not so dangerous. There are some times like high noon where it's pretty dangerous to get exposed to those UV rays. So you want to go on a website that tells you about the UV rays in your area and the best time for you to get sun exposure with the good rays and least exposure with the rays that cause skin damage, aging, and cancer. So that's what I wanted to tell you today about nutrition and snoring. Check your vitamin D level with your healthcare provider. If you get a supplement, you have to take it with fat because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. So if you take it on an empty stomach, you may not get your levels up to where you think they should be. You want to make sure you're getting your vitamin D from a reputable company. And after you've been on it for a while, it would be good to go back and get your levels checked. And that means going back to see your healthcare provider. If you want to learn more about snoring and the 31 ways that you can stop snoring, I have created a book. It's available on my website for free after you make a donation. The donation can be as little as $5. So buy me a coffee, get my book. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and share. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification so you'll know when I'm making my next video. I enjoyed talking with you. It's been my blessing. I hope this has been a blessing to you. And don't forget, be a blessing to someone else. Bye-bye.